Hey everybody, wanted to do a follow-up video on the Destruction Mage's Compendium spell mod pack that I'm working on. If you haven't seen the first one, I encourage you to go and watch that. Gives you some idea of what it's all about. I don't think I've made any changes on the destruction spells since then. I'll go over those again real quick. But there's been a lot of work done on the restoration side. And I know what you're thinking. Why are you including restoration spells if it's a destruction spell mod pack? Well, it's not a School of Destruction spell mod pack. It's not a destruction tree spell mod pack. It's a destruction spell mod pack. So most of the spells, I think all but two, that have been added on the restoration side, they are destructive. Only to undead, but they are destructive. So that's why. So anyhow, let's go and take a look. I renamed all these by putting a DMC prefix on them. So it's easier to find them here and they won't be getting mixed in with the default spells because they all have DMC. And we've got, as you can see, there's no novice level spells here because in novice we've already have flames, but there are apprentice, adept, expert, and master level spells. So real quick, initially you start out with flames right here, novice level spell, but that's the only version of that spell that you get. So I've added others. We can see right here I've got apprentice flames, and each one does more damage with a little higher magicka cost. I've got some enchantments on. I probably should have taken those off so you can kind of ignore these numbers, but you can see what the damage is. We've got adept flames right here. There's expert flames and master flames. I did the same thing with frostbite and sparks. Apprentice, adept, expert, and master. Now I've also included 3 spells at the adept level, 1 fire, 1 frost, 1 shock, to not so much replace, but to give you another option, because in game those 3 adept spells, which are fireball, was it ice storm? I can't remember the name of that one, and chain lightning. Those are area effect spells, which are fine sometimes, but there are times when you can't use them. So I created 3 adept level non-area effect spells, and the fire spell is called Fire Blast, the shock spell is called High Voltage, and the ice spell is called Ice Shard. They do the same amount of damage, they just don't have an area effect component to them. At the master level, I included 3 spells that don't have that long two-handed wind-up. They're traditional one-hand fire and forget spells. They do 50% more damage than the expert level with 50% increase in magicka cost, which is pretty much the trend if you look at the numbers real close in the default spells of the game. So for the fire, we've got Inferno, does 90 damage. Incinerate does 60. It's 446 magicka. Again, I've got some enchantments on. I should have taken them off, so we can kind of ignore that. But we also have, for the ice spell, we've got Ice Harpoon. I had been calling this Ice Lance, I think. I didn't really like that sound of that one, so I just decided to call it an Ice Harpoon. Whatever. It's just it's an ice spell. And the shock spell is called Megawatt. Now these look like... let's see, where did they just go? Not Fire Blast, Inferno. Inferno looks just like Incinerate. No difference there. And Ice Harpoon looks like the expert level spell Icy Spear. No difference. And of course Megawatt just looks like your typical shock spell. So that's the only thing there. So that's pretty much everything over on this side. Flames, Frostbite, and Sparks at Apprentice, Adept, Expert, and Master levels. And then you've got a Fire, Frost, and Shock spell at the Adept level that are not area effect, still equal damage. And you've got another option at the Expert level with Inferno, Ice Harpoon, and Megawatt. So that's on the destruction side. Now we're going to come over here to the restoration side. As you can see, there is quite a bit of stuff here. Not all of this may be staying though. One of the things I have included right here is a rune. And it works and looks like a fire rune. The only downside to this one, it's called a sun rune. The only downside, well, I was trying to accomplish one of three options with this. One is that only undead can set it off. And I've not been able to do that. I don't know if it's even possible. The other option is that the living can set it off, but not take damage and not get aggroed. Now, I've been able to set it up where the living won't take damage, but they still get aggroed. Then it's like, well, if you're going to do that, then it might as well just do some damage, and then, well, then you have a fire rune, so there's no point in having a sun rune. Hey, look, a vampire. Well, let's take a look at what some of these spells can do. I was going to show this before, but since we have... Okay, let me show something with these sun spells. I'm going to bring up Sunfire, which is a ball of sunlight. This is the same, essentially the same spell as the Sunfire you get with the Dawn Guard DLC. But that only comes at, I think, Apprentice level. So I have it from Novice up through Master. And Sunbeam is something that I created. That actually doesn't exist in the game. But these only affect undead. And I'll show you that right here. Okay, well that just went through him. But sometimes this horse likes... Let's see. It just warped out of existence. Alright, where are... There you are. See? Nothing. Nothing. Now, in the left hand, I have the Sunbeam spell that I made. Looks similar to Flames. It's built off of Flames with some different effects. But it works essentially the same way. So you can see against the living, it has no effect. Now, I'm going to bring up some Draugr here in a minute. We're going to have a little bit of fun, but... I'm going to try and prove a little point here. Because I think this cat down here... He's a vampire. Now I'm going to hit him with this spell. If he's not a vampire, nothing's going to happen. Uh-oh.
That's it? That's all you've got?
Oh, well, there we go. So that's one way to determine if you're not sure if somebody is a vampire, hit them with the sun spell. If they're not, they won't take any damage and they won't get aggroed. But if they do, well, be ready for a fight, is all I have to say. So, there you go. That's two of the spells added. Sunfire and Sunbeam. This is a good combination. Now we look in here, we can see there is Adept versions, there's Apprentice versions, there's Sunbeam, Sunfire. You've got Expert level versions, Sunbeam, Sunfire, and Master level versions, Sunbeam, Sunfire. Now we've also got a Sun Cloak. Now this is just like Stendarr's Aura. I think this one's a little more potent than Stendarr's Aura, and it's also available. As we can see, we've got Novice Suncloak and Apprentice Suncloak. And I just popped the Adept version. And we've got one Expert version. And there's the Master version. So we've got them all the way from Novice through Master. Sunfire. This is the Fireball. This is one that deals most of the damage. Okay, that's the Stendar's Aura effect. And then, of course, we have Sunbeam that I was just showing. I wish this were a little more yellow and less orange, but the only way to get this, I had it looking like that, like it was just a small beam of light, but it didn't have any range on it. It was unlimited. I could sit here. You can see High Hrothgar right there, and I could literally hit that from here because it had no distance to it. So it was kind of unrealistic. So I had to use a little bit of the flames effect to give it some distance, limited distance. Let's have a little fun here. Let's bring up, let's start with, well, here, let's start with Novice, and then we'll move up to some more powerful spells. Let's get up Sunfire. We'll get up the Cloak. Whoops. We'll start with that one. Then we'll get Sunbeam, Sunfire. Let's get some Draugr. You know what? I just realized something. I think I'm still on Master difficulty. Let me check that. Probably forgot to change this. That's why they... Oh, I'm Legendary. That's why it was... I had it there, and that's where I ended my last test. Let's start with Adept. These guys are going to go down a lot quicker on Adept difficulty. Let's see. We'll get the Suncloak back up. These guys are going to go down pretty fast. There you go. Now, of course, that's Adept difficulty. So let's try... Let's see, I'll bring up... Let's jump up to Adept, and then I'll bring up some tougher Draugr. We'll refresh that. Adept Sunbeam. Sometimes they stand there and you gotta hit them with something to get them going. See, the weaker ones go down pretty quick. These are Death Lords. They're a bit tougher. There you go. Okay. Again, this is adept difficulty though, so if you're playing, expert, master, legendary, obviously they're not going to go down quite so easy. These spells are a little more powerful than their counterparts in the destruction tree. So, for example, um, Apprentice Sunfire does 24 points of damage. If you come over here, Destruction Tree, you've got Firebolt, does 25 points of damage. So if we bring up some regular old Drugger, two hits, that one's down. That one's gone in one hit. I mean, it's not double the damage, but it's close to that. It's noticeably more damage. The reason for that is if the damage that the sun spells were doing were exactly the same as the flame spells counterpart, like I got two spells here, they're both apprentice level, they both operate the same way. And they're only one point apart in damage. If all things were equal, then there really wouldn't be any point in having the sun spells at all. It's like, well, what would be the advantage to using them? You could just stick with flames. And if you're going to be using magic, and you're going to be running into undead, you're going to be running into Draugr and stuff, you're probably going to want to use fire. So what I've done with this one is it just has a 1 second longer burn time. So in effect, it's probably twice as powerful when you look at the burn time. If during my testing though, and against like a expert and master level, it doesn't really come out to being twice as powerful, but it is a little stronger. The reason I set it up that way is, well, number one, there has to be some advantage to using sun spells over flames. If not, then you might as well just use fire. The other thing is, when you look here in the destruction tree, you have these two perks right here, augmented flames. At destruction level 30, you get one perk, so you're doing 25% more damage. With this perk, those two spells that are relatively equal in strength, the sun spell is still going to be a little more powerful. But at level 60, you get the second perk. This one's going to be a little more powerful. But you don't have the same thing in restoration. The only thing you have is Necromage. Now Necromage will make the spells 50% more powerful and have 50% longer duration, which is the same as the second level of the second augmented perk. But you don't get that until level 70. So you have nothing else from zero, essentially from 0 to 70. You don't have that first level augmented perk. So these are going to do a little more damage to kind of help bridge that gap, but also as an incentive to say, hey, if you're going to be going up against the undead, these spells, pound for pound, I guess you could say, do a little more damage, and it's advantageous to use those. Another thing is, like I showed before, these only work on undead. They will not work. You see, there's that horse. Okay, well, if I can hit him. There we go. See? They don't do any damage, and they don't aggro the undead. So let's see, what else can we do? Let's try, I'll tell you what, let's go to expert, and let's step up the difficulty a little bit. Because these guys on adept difficulty are going to get wiped out pretty quick. So let's try master difficulty. Get up the cloak. Switch to sunbeam. Let's try I don't know, 16? Wake up, guys. What's wrong with them? Why are they all just standing around? This ought to wake them up. They are a noisy bunch, aren't they? A lot of Death Lords in this group. It's gonna take a little bit of time to deal with all of them. That console command I use there is pretty random. There's no telling what you're gonna get or how many of what. So I kind of like it, but then sometimes you end up like this where you got an overabundance of Death Lords. Should probably get out. I've got master level spells. I could switch out to those. And I don't want to fire these spells off too quickly at the same target because they have that delayed burn time. So I'm just going to go back and forth. And you're done. So that is about it. Again, these the runes, I like them. I love the idea of a sun rune, but unless I can figure out a way that the living either doesn't set it off, or if they do set it off, they don't get aggroed, and preferably don't take damage, probably not going to use them. I could just make different versions of a fire rune because you only have the one on the destruction side, the default spells. So I may go ahead and do something like that. I still need to do a little more testing with these spells over the next couple of days, but I think everything's pretty well set. Yeah, I'm looking forward to actually trying these out in game. Oh, I do have a couple other spells here. I didn't talk about these. When it comes to turn undead spells, we've got one called Turn Greater Undead. That one works up to level 26, or level 21 for Draugr, which I think is a Draugr Scourge. But anything over that, it doesn't work. And between there and the Death Lords, you got a pretty sizable gap. And then you've got the Hulking Draugr, which is a level 26. So the only spell after that you can get that works on that, I think, is Bane of the Undead, which will work on Draugr Death Overlords even. But it's an area effect spell. It's one of those master spells. It takes 2 hands to set it off, blah, blah, blah. So I decided to create a Turn Greater Undead Plus. And this other spell right here is Turn Grand Undead. This works on Draugr up to level 35. According to the UESP, there's 2 types of Draugr Death Lords and 2 levels. There's a level 30 and level 40. And the Draugr Death Overlords, there's a level 34 and a level 40 something. This spell right here, this Turn Grand Undead, this is one I created. This one will work on the lower level Death Lords and Death Overlords. So actually we can, let's see, we can take a look at that. Let's bring up some Death Lords. Let's start with 6. It's got a little bit of a long wind-up. Keep running. Where'd all your friends go? Well, you're the only one here. I'm just going to keep hitting you. Anyway, you can see it works. A little better than my aim, apparently. So even though I'm pretty sure I got a master level spell. Let me check this. Yeah, it's Master Sunfire. I think it's because I bumped up the difficulty. It's kind of interesting when you get in the creation kit and see what kind of effects are added to these spells. Because the spell itself doesn't actually do anything. It's pretty much just text. It's something that shows up in inventory and it does X. It tells you what it does, but it's not the actual effect. Now that guy's really running away, isn't he? Anyways, I was saying, you see how they kind of bend over there? There's an effect added to that turn undead spell. It's called push. That's the way they kind of look like they get knocked around a little bit. You can just die. Excuse me? Run away, dummy. Think you're all alone, buddy. Is that everybody? Yeah. So, I don't know. This is one spell that I'm still kind of on the fence about because I haven't encountered in doing this, using console commands to bring him up, Draugr that was not affected by that spell. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe I should knock it down a little bit. I don't know. I got to do a little more looking into that. But it is a master level spell though, so it's right there. It's showing it costs us $224. I think it's as close to 500 actually. But again, I got some enchantments on right now, which I probably shouldn't have done, but yeah. Anyway, that is the sum of everything. Again, the runes, I'm probably not going to keep those. I'm going to try a few more things, and I'm going to test these spells a little more over the next couple of days. But if I can't figure out a way to get these runes to work the way I want, then I'm just going to remove them. It would be really nice to have them, but what I really, really wanted, in addition to the Sunfire, was the Sunbeam. Wait a minute, that's not Sunbeam. That is. So I really wanted this because this is so helpful against moving targets. And of course we have this one to do most of the damage, and we got the cloaks in there to help as well. So it's pretty well set. So that's going to be it. I might do... I don't know if I'm going to do another video. I may do another video to put onto the Nexus site when I get done with it. But like I said, I got to do some more testing over the next couple of days, and you know, maybe Thursday or Friday. see about putting this on the Nexus. So, anyway, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'll see you next episode. Next episode? What the hell? There's not more episodes here. Next video. Don't mind me. I need more coffee. See you soon.